Hello, welcome to Liz Rocks and Stuff. I'm Liz. Let's get started. It is a bit of a chaotic week this week because I just had a realization and had to do some stuff. So, starting off, rinsing off the amber. I know I said I was going to let the amber go for 2 weeks, but then I remembered that I need to have my smoky quartz done by the end of the month. So, in order to do that, I need to get them into stage 2 now to make sure that there's enough time for them to go through all of the stages and be done by the end of the month. So, since I don't use my small tumbler for anything past stage 1, I needed to have a 3 pound barrel that was empty, and basically the only way I could see to do that was to get the amber out. So amber's going to go into storage for a few weeks. I think I'm going to use this opportunity to actually start doing the grinding on them and get them ready to go forward. So that was the amber being rinsed. This is the miscellaneous stuff. So this is a mix of agates, and I think there's some quartz in here. But essentially what I'm going to end up doing is taking the amber out of the 3 pound barrels and then combining what I already have that's ready for stage 2 with anything I get out of my miscellaneous and my agates barrels into a stage 2 barrel and get that going. So this is quartz and amethyst and a few other little rocks in here in this barrel. And then the next one we're going to see is my agates. These are all being rinsed out, and they'll just be combined into 2 barrels. So so this is the next one, and you'll notice there's something missing. I forgot to put my strainer back, so there's me realizing it and then straining these rocks. Like I said, it was a chaotic week. Making that realization that I needed to get these things into stage 2 kind of threw a wrench in some plans. So, but we're gonna roll with it. That's what you do with rock tumbling. So, getting these all rinsed off. This is mostly moss agates and some lace agates, I believe. And there's some jasper and other stuff. This is all 7 hardness stuff, but it's a mix of things. Not a lot of people will mix up their rocks like I do, but that's just what I'm doing. So I found a rock in my rock bed that needed to go back in there. So now I'm gonna get these barrels started. First thing I'm gonna do is pull all of my amber out of my tumbling media. I'm also sorting them at this point, so I'm pulling out anything that's ready for stage 2, I believe. And there are a few things that I do pull out. I'm going to show one in a minute that actually is a pretty good example of how I'm hoping these things turn out. So that right there, they do have some black and some gray still on them, but that is actually inside the amber, if that makes sense. It's not on the outside, which is what I'm trying to get rid of. So this is going to get pulled out. Everything's going to go into, what I call storage. So that's going to be left in water so that it doesn't dry out. I am going to use a grinder, kind of probably off camera, because grinding can be a little dangerous, and I don't want to be responsible for somebody doing what I do and getting hurt. So I'm gonna take these rocks to a grinder, and I'm gonna get that rock off of them so that I can get them into stage 2 and then 3 and 4, and hopefully get this amber done. So I'm basically cleaning out all of my tumbling media that I've been using to pad out this barrel, and gonna move the stage 2 stuff is already in water, put water into the stage 1 stuff, and then I'm gonna let that tumbling media dry out. I don't store my tumbling media while it's wet, so I have to wait for it to dry out. So this is what I already have set aside that is stage 2 ready. As far as my smoky quartz, there's some amethyst, there's some other quartz in there. So that's going to be my stage 2 barrel going forward. So this is also some stage 2 ready jasper, and maybe some agates in there as well. So that's everything that I've already pulled out that's ready for stage 2 from my other barrels that I've had going on. So there's some smaller rocks that got stuck in the cup. That barrel is nowhere near full, so I need to get some more stuff in there. So the first thing I'm going to do, this is now my miscellaneous barrel that I had going, so I'm going to sort this. So I'm going to sort anything that's still needing to go through stage 1 is going into the top barrel. Anything for stage 2 is going in the bottom barrel. Now this, you will, if you remember, It has it has quartz in it mostly, but there's some other types of rocks that I'm not as sure of. But also I have what I call filler rock. This is just rocks I pulled out of my rock beds outside that I don't care about, that I use instead of using up my tumbling media that I've, paid money for and was, a little expensive. I'm going to use the filler rock that I have. So, it also looks very different from what I'm tumbling in it, so it's easy for me to pick it out. It may not look like that in this video, but when you're up close, you can tell the difference between, quartz and agate and just your everyday run-of-the-mill outside river rock, because that's what we have in our rock beds is river rock. Now, that being said, there is quartz and other stuff in our river rock because of where I live. Quartz is very prominent, but not really anything else that you're going to get out there. So these are all little bitty pieces left in here, just sort of getting them sorted out. Most of that's going to go into stage 1, but some of them are pretty well rounded over and ready for stage 2. So now I've gotten my amber out of the barrel. I've gone through my miscellaneous. I pulled out my already ready for stage 2 stuff, and now this is my agates, which was formerly in the 1 pound barrel. So getting this all sorted out. You'll notice once the top barrel gets full, I'm going to start putting rocks to the side instead of putting them in the barrel, because I don't want that barrel to get too full. So at some point I just start putting rocks kind of down instead of in the barrel. That's what I'm doing right here. So those are rocks that still need stage 1, but I don't have room for them in the stage 1 barrel. So what I'm going to end up doing with those is putting them into my 1 pound barrel that I took these out of. So what I end up at the end of today is a stage 2 mix of agates and quartz and 2 stage 1 mixes of mostly agates. But also some amethyst and quartz are in there as well. I don't want my barrels to be too full. Your goal is 2/3 to 3/4 full. So that top barrel was a little bit too full. Here I am pulling some of my the last of my moss agates and then some of my lace agate to fill up this 1 pound barrel. I do like to kind of shake it to see if I can settle anything a little bit better. And that's going to get those 2 full. This last one is going to be full now with this addition of that agate. And now everything's going to get water. So those 2 barrels have water. And then I went to do this barrel, and it's not as full. This is a stage 2 barrel. It's not as full as I would like. So I'm going to take some of that media. And remember, that media was in stage 1. So it's at the same tumbling stage as the rocks in this barrel. So it is okay for me to add those in here. And then I put some water in it, and now we're going to do the grit. Now, this is such a chaotic thing because I needed 6 tablespoons of stage 2 grit, and I only had about 2. So I added what I had in there, and then I had to go search for my stage 2 grit that I had, refilled that, and I'm sorry this is all like, I didn't realize it was all mostly out of frame. But then I had to hunt down my stage 2 grit, which was luckily nearby. Add in the additional 4 tablespoons of the stage 2 grit that I need, and make a mental note that I need to go order some more of that because I'm getting low on it as well. And then I pull out my stage 1 grit. I also was running low on it. So the 1 pound barrel gets 2 tablespoons, and then that's a 2 tablespoon scoop. So that was 2 tablespoons, and then this one needed 4. So there was, maybe 6 in there, maybe not. Honestly, grit, how much you put in there is sort of subjective. Not subjective, but it's not an exact science. As long as you have enough, if you don't have enough in there, it will just go through it, and then you're tumbling rocks that are doing nothing because there's no more grit in there. If you put too much in, then it just won't use it all. So it's not a huge consequence if you don't put enough in there. So I'm not that concerned about it. But now I need to relabel all of my barrels because I have a stage 2 and 2 stage 1s. But getting all of these set back up and relabeled, and then they'll go on the tumbler for a week. And we will, that stage 2 barrel will go all the way through stage 4, a week for each stage with some burnishing in between. Some people will burnish between stage 1 and 2. I don't personally, but I will between 2 and 3, and then also again between 3 and 4, and then also after stage 4. But that's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.